It's been a long off season without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play. More ways to challenge your friends. And most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
By the way, when a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, with Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to, because there is no contract. They use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Before I get into any sports, let me be very clear. My apologies for being out the last 2 days. For those of you who may not know, but I'm sure most of you who do know, my father passed away this past weekend. I want to give special thanks to all my friends and loved ones here at ESPN, a phenomenal family that has been incredibly supportive, from Jonathan Winthrop and Kat Pastor and Nuno Texiera here, and Justin Craig and Tra Keller and, Norby Williamson and Dave Roberts and my whole First Take team, from, Stephanie Fournier, Kevin Reeder, Brian Bork, Antoine Lewis, of course, Max Kellerman, Molly Kiram, whole bunch of folks from ESPN calling up, all the athletes out there who called, you know who you are. Appreciate the love and respect and everything that comes with it. I just wanted to, I was gone the last couple of days, needing to make the necessary arrangements for my dad. And I'm back here for today and tomorrow, before obviously having to continue handling things over the weekend. So I appreciate your understanding for the fact that I was out and the reasons behind it. Also want to give a special shout out to all the folks for ESPN Radio throughout the country, especially my man Tim McCarthy and Michael Kay and Larry Hardesty and so many other people, Ty Eli and everybody else. Love y'all. Deeply appreciate it. But I'm going to be here for the next couple of days, like I said, and just wanted to make sure I extended my thanks. And, of course, a special thanks to Bob Wischusen and his especially kind words on Monday afternoon when he filled in for me so admirably, by the way. One day, I don't understand why this man doesn't have his own radio show. Bob Wischusen's fantastic. He just is. And I want to give a special thanks to him and, of course, Michael Leaves and Matt Berry as well for filling in for me the way that they did yesterday. So thanks to everybody. But I'm here, and it's time to get into sports, and I'm going to do my job as I always do and express what I feel the way that I always do. Maybe a little bit less volume. Maybe. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure I got that out of the way. Let's get right into it, because there's a few things that we're going to get into. We've got our eyes on what's transpiring at Ohio State, because the Board of Trustees has met with officials for Ohio State. They're going to reveal its findings, and we don't know what the outcome is going to be in regards to Urban Meyer, the head football coach at Ohio State, who's been put on paid administrative leave since August 1st due to his former assistant coach, Zach Smith, being involved with domestic violence, and Urban Meyer allegedly knowing a lot more about it than he revealed. And as a result, there's a price that potentially may be paid there. We'll find out what that is potentially in the minutes to hours to days to come. We don't know. We'll keep our eyes on that. We're also going to talk about what's transpiring at Texas A&M, because you got a former athlete there that clearly is bitter and has pointed his ire in the direction of Jimbo Fisher, the new head coach at Texas A&M, who hasn't even coached the game yet there, but still in all finds himself in the throes of controversy because some kid has alluded to recruiting violations that may have taken place as it pertains to them. We'll talk about that. I'm definitely getting into Aroldis Chapman, the closer for the New York Yankees, who's got knee problems and had to lead a game after just 6 pitches. 6. Now, it's bad enough the damn Yankees ain't good enough to beat the Red Sox. Ain't good enough to beat the Houston Astros. Ain't good enough to beat the Cleveland Indians. At least one of the teams. In other words, the Yankees ain't going to the World Series. But I certainly don't want to see this. So I'm definitely going to touch on that a little bit later on in the show. But the first order of business on my mind, believe it or not, is Eli Manning. And it's this article that came out, and it was posted on ESPN, where we're talking about, the best and worst valued quarterbacks in the National Football League. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is up there. Dak Prescott is up there because of his level of production, compared to the salary that he's earning. Deshaun Watson is up there as well. We get all of that. We understand it. Russell Wilson, obviously, of extreme value, considering what he brings to the table, what he means to the bottom line of the Seattle Seahawks, even though, he's getting paid an exorbitant amount of money. But they've got Eli Manning, a two-time champion with the New York Giants. They have Eli Manning next to last. The only quarterback rated lower than Eli Manning is Mitchell Trubisky for the Chicago Bears. That is it. And obviously you have folks that are incredibly appalled. They're incredibly appalled by what they're seeing. They can't believe it. Russell Wilson's ranked number 1. Dak Prescott's ranked number 2. Aaron Rodgers ranked number 3. Tom Brady's ranked number 4. Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons is ranked number 5. And what they're saying is, for example, I'll give you an example. They're saying Matt Ryan, career salary, $142 million. This man has cash checks totaling that amount. That's what that means. For those of you out there that might be a bit challenged in understanding what the category of career salary means, what it means is at the end of the day, when you cashed a check that was cut for you, that's the amount it added up to. Matt Ryan, $142 million. That's Matt Ryan. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, some of you might find it appalling. You might sit up there and say, how the hell is Eli Manning ranked below Patrick Mahomes, Sam Bradford, Phillip Rivers, Case Keenum? How is this possible? Josh McCown of the New York Jets is ranked ahead of him. A.J. McCarron, who was a backup in Cincinnati before landing in Buffalo this year, hasn't played a game yet. Not when it counts. He's ranked above Eli Manning. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand. I understand how appalled you may be. I understand how you're going to look at that and you're going to say, what the hell's going on? I got a real problem with this. But when they talk about career adjustable salary, okay, do y'all know that Eli Manning is at $266 million now? $266 million. Now, y'all might look at the 2 Super Bowls. You know what I look at? I look at the fact that 5 times in the last 6 years, the Giants have been home watching the playoffs just like me. They haven't been in the postseason. I look at the fact that 7 times in the last 9 years, they've been home watching the playoffs just like me and you. 7 times in the last 9 years. 5 times in the last 6 years, Eli Manning's team has not made the playoffs. The 2 times that they won the Super Bowl, it wasn't like he imitated Tom Brady passing for 505 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception in the Super Bowl loss. No, they scored 21 points in one Super Bowl, 17 in another. Their offense didn't knock anybody's socks off, specifically the New England Patriots, who they beat twice. They didn't knock anybody's socks off. Eli Manning didn't throw for 500 yards. Eli Manning wasn't going berserk. Matter of fact, Eli Manning didn't throw for 300 yards. We all know that the Giants defense was responsible for that Super Bowl, those Super Bowls. We appreciate the fact that Eli Manning performed. I want to stake the record for that. I really, really do. I appreciate the fact that Eli Manning did what he did. I totally get it. And I understand it. Their last Super Bowl, they won 21-17. Eli Manning, 30 for 40, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. That was his number. That's what Eli Manning did. His last Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl we saw him in. The first Super Bowl we saw him in 2007. Let's call it what it is. When they won the Super Bowl that year, they scored 17 points. Eli Manning, in that Super Bowl, 19 for 34, 255 yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ladies and gentlemen, he was decent. He all right. He's all right. It didn't knock your socks off. Those were hard-fought battles that were primarily defensive battles. Can we put things in its proper perspective? Eli Manning, career salary $189 million, career adjustable salary $266 million. That would be more than Tom Brady. That would be more than Aaron Rodgers. That would be more than Drew Brees. That would be more than anybody. But you're missing the playoffs 5 times in the last 6 years, 7 times in the last 9 years. That's a problem. Oh, by the way, Phillip Rivers, you don't get off the hook in Los Angeles. You don't get off the hook. You've missed the playoffs 7 in the last 8 years. I know that Phillip Rivers' regular season numbers are pretty impressive. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. His regular season numbers are the only numbers you have to go by. There are no postseason numbers. Not really. And all I'm saying to you is these kind of things matter. I can't let that go. Somebody got to say it. I don't enjoy this. I'm not trying to sit there and be negative Nelly. I'm not trying to do that. I don't want Nuno looking at me with a raised eyebrow saying, my goodness, where is his decency? Or John sitting up there saying, come on, even though John would never say it publicly because he's a Cincinnati Bengals fan. He has no credibility. Zero. But all I'm saying is, if you're Phillip Rivers, you've been to the playoffs once since 2009. In that playoff game, in fairness to Phillip Rivers, 2 playoff games, in 2013, he went 30 for 43, complete nearly 70% of his passes. But ladies and gentlemen, he had 345 yards passing in 2 games. That's not even an average of 200 yards passing per. I mean, can we be honest? Can we try? What should be measured? I'm not usually leaning on the side of the analytic folks. But the reality is that if you cash nearly $300 million, even though you got 2 Super Bowls and they were relatively average performances, and you combine that with the fact that you've missed the playoffs 7 times in the last 9 years and 5 of the last 6 years, I'm sorry. If you got questions as to whether or not Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, isn't it appropriate to ask questions about what his actual worth is? I think it is. I'm just saying. 888. Say ESPN is the number to call up. As always, that's 888-729-3776. The other thing I wanted to get into, real quick, and I'm not going to belabor this, is Aroldis Chapman. 2.11 ERA. Let me tell y'all something right now. Y'all can brag about that if y'all want to. No, don't look at me that way. You got a 2.11 ERA as a closer. I got a problem with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been spoiled. Mariano Rivera graced the corridors of Yankee Stadium in the Bronx for damn near 2 decades. I've been spoiled. Aroldis Chapman doesn't tickle my fancy, doesn't move me. Now, granted, Michael K's opinion on this matter might matter just a touch more than mine. Fair enough. Let him rave about Aroldis Chapman. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not moved. You show up once every few days, you pitch for a couple of innings, and you got knee problems. What the hell are you doing in your off time? What knee problems do you have? What happened? You tripped on the steps from the dugout, walking to the mound and hurt your knee? You went out and get some ice cream? You bumped knees on a table while you were smoking a cigar after hours? What on earth is going on? How you got knee problems? What were you doing? This ain't basketball. This ain't football. Hell, it ain't even tennis. On a baseball diamond. Why you got knee problems? Nobody's brought that up. So guess what? I have to. Has anybody missed this? I understand. It's a little stretching that goes on. You don't stretch just right, could be a problem. All right. So that's a hamstring issue. I mean, you're sitting there, you're winding up and you're extending. I got that. That's a hamstring issue. You're throwing a football, you're throwing a baseball, that's a rotator cuff issue or an elbow issue. Hell, you're flicking it with a split-fingered fastball or something. That might be a wrist issue. How the hell you got a knee issue? What you doing? What are you doing? What happened? I'm not saying it can't happen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to imply that those things are not possible. What I'm asking is, how it happened? I want to know. And I don't mean to sound like Little Richard when he was on City Hall decades ago talking to Big Daddy Kane. I want to know why they call you Big Daddy. That's not what I'm saying here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just asking a simple question. How you a pitcher and a closer at that? And you got knee problems. What you doing? You driving in a little dune buggy or something and it irritated your knee? What am I missing? I just don't understand it. Can somebody gather an explanation that would suffice for me, for my edification? Please, pretty please, with sugar on top. You a closer. How you got knee problems? I'm just wondering. I'm just saying. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That's the number 2 item on my mind. I'll get into my LeBron James stuff in a minute because evidently I'm blasphemous. I've been hedonist because I had the temerity, the unmitigated goal to sit there and say, if I had to take 2 of the 3 to play together, rather than take LeBron, I would take Kawhi and Kevin Durant. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I know LeBron is the best in the world. But if I had to pick a player specifically to play with Kawhi Leonard, I would want Kevin Durant with Kawhi Leonard more than LeBron. I'll explain why a little bit more later. The other item I want to get to is of a more serious nature. Ladies and gentlemen, Urban Meyer probably is not going to lose his job. I'm just guessing. As you all know, his former assistant coach, Zach Smith, was involved in a domestic violence situation with his wife as early as 2009 when he was at Florida. Once he followed Urban Meyer to Ohio State, evidently another incident took place. Zach Smith is on the record stating that he never struck his wife, but his wife, ex-wife, informed the public that indeed he had committed domestic violence. And more importantly, she had told the wife of Urban Meyer, who had informed her she had to tell her husband, which was Urban Meyer, the coach at Ohio State. Therefore, Urban Meyer knew and did nothing. As a result, Ohio State put him on administrative leave, hired a firm to investigate the matter. The firm was addressing the board of trustees this morning. Urban Meyer showed up for that. And now we're waiting to see what the fallout is going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not advocating for the firing of Urban Meyer. Zach Smith, yeah. Urban Meyer, poor judgment, deserves to be suspended, deserves repercussions. Lying to the media, ladies and gentlemen, is no crime. People get lied to every day. As a matter of fact, I don't know if there is a day when I don't get lied to by somebody in the sports world. Every day. If lying to the media was a crime, there wouldn't be enough space in the jails. So it's not a crime. And as a result, that's the reality. There's a flip side to it. There is something about being a leader of men. I am saying to you, Earl Bruce, the former great at Ohio State, is a mentor to Urban Meyer, and I forgot what his relationship was with Zach Smith. What was it, Nuno? What was it? It was excuse me? Grandfather. Earl Bruce was the grandfather to assistant Zach Smith, and since he was also a mentor to Urban Meyer was taking care of his mentor by taking care of the mentor's grandson. Poor judgment, no question. But when you take that into consideration, I do believe there's room for a Mulligan there. If you're not the one who committed domestic violence, as wrong as it was, and as desperate as the need for a reprimand calls for here, the fact that you was trying to look out for a mentor, ladies and gentlemen, that's America. There's people trying to look out for somebody other than themselves all the time. Because this guy, for all intents and purposes, wasn't the greatest assistant coach in the world. Clearly he was there because Urban Meyer was looking out for the grandfather, who was his mentor. That doesn't mean he should be absolved. There is a stiff punishment that should come his way. But it's not like he's the one that committed the act of domestic violence. But there's something else that needs to be said. And you know what that is? If you take into account what would happen to a kid caught in the same scenario, then I think whatever would happen to the student athlete should happen to the coach. Because the coach is a leader of men. The coach is the overseer of the program. This particular coach, Urban Meyer, has been on the record saying there's a no tolerance policy with domestic violence, but he was talking about the kids. Clearly it wasn't the coaches. So there's a level of inconsistency there that cannot be tolerated. Cannot. And my position is very clear. I'm sick and tired of ignorant, stupid, young men, damn near fresh out of the womb, being held more accountable than the actual adults. You want to hold those kids accountable, those student athletes? Fine. But don't give the man a pass when he's a grown man. I don't care that he's won 90.1% of his games. That doesn't mean he deserves a pass. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That's what I say. What about you? That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have an acid stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your car or your nightstand. You have those chalky tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. Well, listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn. Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day will last a full 24 hours with zero heartburn. Kick your antacid habit. It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn. Not for immediate relief, of course.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.